Hello everybody, I'm Tony Craig. This is F1 Grandstand and this is your daily F1 news. Now we do have some breaking F1 news. The FIA could well and truly be on the hook for the Mercedes engine loophole. We've got reports of Adrian Newey acting very weird at the AMR 26 launch yesterday. Fernando Alonso talks retirement. He knows. Also got some updates on Cadillac. And we will be going through the Bahrain test this week, the runners and riders, the drivers, when they're going to be out, when the teams are going to be out on track as well. So yes, if you're an F1 fan, of course, you're in the right place. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you do enjoy the video, smash a like on it as well. But behind that subscribe button, make sure you got the bell all icon ticked so you can be in control of which piece of the content you want to engage with. Hello to you all. Yes, it's been an interesting day today in the world of Formula One. Like I said, we have got some breaking news coming out. And it's putting the FIA well and truly on the hook. So we're going to be coming to that in a minute. But let me just say a quick hello to the chat. We've got Reevesy. We've got Dorley in there. Sulo's in there. We've got Gemma, Queen of the Chat's in there. Oh, good. Nice to see the chat is already popping off. So yeah, we do have a lot to get into tonight. I think you're going to like this one. So we're going to start off with Adrian Newey and his weird behaviour, apparently. This is an interesting one. So some journalists have been saying that Adrian Newey was doing something weird. He was behaving weirdly at the Aston Martin AMR 26 launch yesterday. And this is what's been said. So what was their problem with him? Well, basically, it starts off like this. Adrian Newey, he's late for a start to the Aston Martin launch, and then he left instantly after the launch. Now, why is that weird? Well, because as team principal, you've got to do the media stuff. Adrian Newey, we all know, I don't think he likes doing it at all. He likes designing the car, he likes the trackside stuff, but talking to the media of any description, he's always a little bit awkward, isn't he? But basically, journalist John Noble, during an episode of the Race podcast, he detailed how the launch of Newey's first Challenger with Aston Martin was weird. He said it was kind of a weird launch, really, because this is Adrian Newey's first Aston Martin car. He's team principal. So one of the big attractions of going to the launch was to speak to Adrian, get his feedback, get some understanding of the car. It's an amazing looking car and there's lots of interesting tech aspects of it. But no, Newey didn't speak to us. He was late, then said he claimed he was in some meetings, then he did some stage stuff, and then instantly rushed off. So we didn't get to speak to Adrian. All we got from him was small snapshots on stage, and then it was mainly left to Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. I mean, he's a bit like the quirky uncle, isn't he, Adrian Newey? He's awkward. He's almost a little bit Asperger's. I mean, in a way, he's brilliant. He's the MVP of Formula One, and he has been for the last 30 years, won more titles than anybody else. And if he's got, the thing is, I kind of believe him. I know he doesn't like doing interviews, but do I think that Adrian Newey probably was thinking, this is a bit of a waste of my time. My time could be served better with the engineers trying to get my car right? Yeah, I do. And I think he probably went to the launch event and he's probably getting annoyed like we were. The launch event was starting later and later, then getting false starts, then dropping off. He's probably thinking, I need to get back in the factory. I need to get back to work. We're in Bahrain. This is testing. We're testing this week. And I think he was probably he probably just thought, I'll get this done and get back to my job, which is at my desk, trying to improve this car. He already said that the development of the car was already 4 months behind schedule compared to everybody else. And getting to Barcelona was a real challenge. So I think we have to give Newey the benefit of the doubt, right? I think he's doing great work. I think he's put together a car that looks fantastic. Definitely looks like they've pushed the envelope with regards to aero design and other decisions that have been made. And I think, I think John Noble, the journalist, I'm going to back Newey here. John, wind your neck in. We know Newey's an odd bod, right? But if it comes down to, does he need to be the guy speaking to you, or does he need to be in the garage sorting the car out? He's not a Christian Horner, is he? Christian Horner would have entertained you all night, but that's because Christian Horner never had to make decisions regarding... He never had to pick up a spanner, right? He never had to do anything to do with the design. So Horner can do all the schmoozing. Zach Brown can do all the schmoozing. Toto Wolff can stand there all day talking to the press, the partners and the sponsors. Newey's just got a very practical, logical mind. And he's going... My time is best served getting back to the garage, and I'm sure that's what was going on with Newey. Yeah, Reevesy says he probably wanted to put pencil to paper. Exactly. He was probably just like going, I don't need to be here. Let someone else deal with this. But there was some interesting things that came out of that. I mean, to be honest, Adrian Newey, he is a bit of an odd bod. And I don't think it matters. But one of the questions, so I was, I caught up with Adrian myself, and I said to Adrian, everyone thinks that, that you can see air. And this is what he said.
Can I see air? The answer is no, I can't.
Oh, so you can't see air?
No, I can't.
Really? I thought you could see air.
No, I can't.
Well, then how do you do your aero magic, Newey? How do you do it?
I try to do my best to visualise what the flow is and what it's likely to be. Nowadays, of course, with CFD, computational fluid dynamics, then that's a fabulous tool for actually being able to stare at a computer screen and understand what's going on. And it's unlike the old days where it was wind tunnel and bits of smoke and flow and wool tufts. Now you can see it in much more detail, but that only tells you what it's doing at that point in time. It's then using the clues from that to try to go forwards and develop the next idea.
So you can see air?
No, I can't.
I think he can see air. I think even in that long description where he's telling you about how he uses the aerodynamic tools, and he says, in the wind tunnel, obviously I can see what happens in that static motion. But yes, actually what I do think, even though he said no, I can't, I think the way he imagines the air and when the car's actually moving and not static, I think he can I do think that aerodynamically he's a magician. I think he's been very modest, obviously, very modest. But it's not just the only thing that came out. I've got a real treat for you guys. Not the only thing that came out the Aston Martin launch. I've got a treat for you. So Lance Stroll, he is ready to do some damage. He's ready to come out fighting. And check out Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin colours. There he is. Lance Stroll, ready for the season. Full Aston Martin colours, ready to go. And I was talking to Adrian, and I said to him, obviously Lance is going to be going out driving he was driving your brand new Aston Martin in Barcelona. Were you scared that he would crash it?
Lawrence and I, when it first pulled out of the garage with Lance driving, we were standing next to each other in the pit lane. And I think we were both quite close to having a tear in our eye.
He was so scared, it brought a tear to his eye. He really thought Lance Stroll might crash it. And then I said to him, will Lance Stroll win a World Driver Championship this year?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. That solves that. Just in case you're wondering. And that's our Adrian Newey interview. Oh my God, I'm going to get in so much trouble for that. If anyone at Aston Martin sees what I just did. One, I'm comparing Lance Stroll to Lou Ferrigno, Ferrigno, if you're old enough to remember the original Hulk. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, I'm not going to do too much Lance Stroll bashing, but seriously, don't you think Lance Stroll is starting to look a bit more like Lou Ferrigno every year? Anyway, he's in good shape, wearing the Aston Martin colours. But yeah, I think, look, Adrian Newey, you can even tell from the little bits that we were showing there in video that, you know, like he is a little bit awkward. He is a little bit awkward, Adrian Newey. But he's still the MVP. He's worth every penny, and I do think that you know, the Aston Martin have got something good. And listen, Lance, if you're watching, I know you're a big fan, I'm only playing. And I promise you, before the end of this season, I will do a lookalike, like a bad lookalike of every single driver before the end of the season. You just happen to be the first one, and yours might be the best one. Because, you know, looking like the Incredible Hulk, and being compared to him, not too bad. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Yeah, Anthony Fortas, don't upset Lance. I won't, I don't want to. Yeah, Nathan says, nice interview, Tony. Not edited at all. No, it was me and Newey, just chatting away like we do. Big contributor now, contributor to F1 Grandstand. Oh, Peter Arnold, good one. Lance is the Incredible Sulk, not the Incredible Hulk. Kyle's the biggest Lance fan in the chat. He said, if Lance watched this show, I'd be banned from F1. It's true. I think, listen, hopefully he'll take that little comedy skit in, you know, in the right way. It's all just fun, Lance. I'm rooting for you this season. I want to see you get on some podiums. I really do. I really do. But we're going to get on to what Fernando Alonso has been saying. So we're sticking with Aston Martin. So Fernando Alonso reveals decision timeline on his F1 future despite pressure from Aston Martin. Okay. Let's see what he's been saying. So I do find it quite a rude question to say to anybody. When are you retiring, mate? I mean, it is quite a rude question, isn't it? But anyway, a recent interview with Dario AS has shed some more light on the situation. Fernando Alonso says he wants to wait until September to make a decision on F1 future. Well, that makes sense. But he goes, here's some direct quotes. He replied, I don't know, I would wait. I think this year we have to wait a little longer because the progression and development of the cars is going to be incredible this year. Improving by a tenth or two when you bring a package of improvements is like improving by 8/10 or a second when you're in the new regulations. So I think that throughout the season, we are going to see big changes in performance from the teams. So making a decision in April or May could be right or wrong in September. It depends on how the developments go. So the longer you can wait, the better. And that would be my intention, to wait until September or so to make a decision. But anyway, we'll see. I don't think it's just about performance. And he goes on to say, I also have to see how I feel, how motivated I am, how much the assets weigh on me, the events, the marketing, all these things you do off the track, and also see how motivated I am. I think the team is going to improve a lot at the beginning of the year. I mean, we're going to go from less to more. I clearly think that's going to be motivating in terms of the possibility of continuing. Seeing that the car will improve and we want to improve the results, but to be able to make a 100% sure decision, we have to wait as long as possible. But then he goes on to say, maybe in spring, Aston Martin will say, I need to know if you want to continue or not, because I need to know what other drivers are on the market. And I can't wait for you to make a decision and find that no one else is available. Then I'll be under pressure from the team to make a decision as quickly as possible. So what have we learned from that? We've learned that Fernando Alonso is definitely not a definite to continue in 27. He knows that regardless of performance of the car really this year, even if he wins, I think he could make the need to be looking at who's going to be that likely replacement. Fernando would like to wait till September. Well, if you think about it, the season's over in December. So that's October, November, December. So it'll be 3 months before the end of the season. There is no way on this green earth that Fernando Alonso will be allowed to keep Aston Martin waiting until then to tell them if he is going to if he's going to drive for them in 27. The decision will be made way before then, because the driver market at the end of this year is bonkers. You've got so many drivers. George Russell could be available potentially. Charles Leclerc's already said if Ferrari aren't good, he could be leaving. You've got Oscar Piastri might not be happy at McLaren. You've got Oliver Behrman, Esteban Ocon, all contracts running out at the end of 26. Pierre Gasly. Like, there's so many drivers who could be available. It's absolutely bonkers. Oh, sorry, what are you saying? You've lost. Can you just confirm you're getting my audio? Because it's all right here. Audio. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, everything's on here. My stream went a bit choppy. Is that what you're telling me? It's Aston Martin. They're getting. Let me just check my stream health. Everything should be fine. You can hear me, good. Yeah. So what? Dodgy tech. It's not my tech. I hope not. I've just got better broadband in. Yeah, so basically I think it's YouTube. That's a YouTube problem. Lance Stroll cutting the cables. He's outside my house. But basically, just to catch up, so I think what we're basically saying is, so Fernando Alonso thinks he's going to be able to wait till September to tell Aston Martin if he's going to continue. The decision is going to be made way before that. The driver market is going to go crazy even by the summer. Don't forget, the end of the season is December. You can't have a 3-month window for Aston Martin to recruit their lead driver for 27. It won't happen like that. So Fernando Alonso will have to decide, or Aston Martin will have to decide. And if Aston Martin are doing really well, and there's no reason to think why they won't be by that middle of the point of the season, and they're competing. If I was Fernando and I'm winning, let's say I'm winning the World Driver Championship by May or June, I'd be like, yeah, let's spin this wheel again. Or I'll be like, I'm just gonna. I mean, I think I can make a decision. But Fernando is thinking retirement. He is talking retirement, and the real question is, regardless of whether he wins the World Driver Championship this year. Oh, don't worry, Thane. I've got some breaking news on that. I've got some great news on what's happening with the FIA on a big update coming after this. So Fernando, he's gonna. It's tough because nobody likes seeing like the Muhammad Ali coming to the end of his career. Like, you need to know when the right time to go is. But right now, Fernando's quick. He's beaten his teammate. He's beaten Lance Stroll. He's in great shape. He said he's in the best shape of his life. And he feels, and I read an article just today, just today, where he was saying that being 45 and going into this new era of Formula One, he feels it's an advantage. He feels like, because he's fit and healthy, all of his experience that he's accumulated over all his time in Formula One means that he's able to adapt quicker to the new driving style for these new cars. And he could be right. We've heard Ollie Behrman saying he's struggling with it. And we've heard, other young drivers saying that it's not that much fun. We saw Isaac Hadjar put his car in the wall in Barcelona. So yeah, Fernando Alonso could be here. My crypto space says, imagine if you had Lewis and Fernando competing for the title in 26. I'd love that. Oh God, I'd love that. I'd love it. Gemma with the super chat. He's very pragmatic and measured with his response. He is, but he's got to understand, Gemma, that even though he's pragmatic, and thank you very much for your super chat, Gemma, I really appreciate it. I think that the decision's not actually going to be his. I think Adrian Newey is going to need to know by June what his plan who he wants in that car. And I think it'll be a lead driver as well, won't it? Aston Martin will need to put a lead driver in there. Someone like a George Russell, someone like a Charles Leclerc. I mean, maybe even a Max Verstappen if Red Bull don't get it right. But they do need a lead driver if Fernando goes, because I'm not sure Lance Stroll will be stepping up into leading that team. Yeah, that's right. Peter Arnold said the same thing. The funny thing is, whoever Aston bring in, it'll be their number one driver. Exactly, it will have to be a number one driver. So it's a tricky situation. And I think the top candidates are your Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Max Verstappen is an outside chance. But it's got to be Charles Leclerc's an outside chance. But it has to be one of those drivers. Kyle Melser says, bring back Mick or K-Mag to drive Aston Martin in 27. Well, I'm not sure about Mick Schumacher, but Magnussen did all right. He did all right, didn't he? Magnussen in the Haas was pretty good, I think. I'm not sure Mick Schumacher will make it back to Formula One, you know. I'd be very surprised. But yeah, I'd like you look. The romantic in me would like Mick Schumacher to find a way back to the grid because I love Michael Schumacher and what he did in the sport. But you imagine being Michael Schumacher's son. The shadow of Schumacher over you. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But Chef says it would be epic to see... it'd be epic to see Alonso versus Hamilton. The two old guys on the grid battling it out for a World Driver Championship. Oh, I think it'd be gold. I think it'd be absolute gold. Take me back, what was it, 2007? Hamilton's debut rookie year where they were fighting it out at McLaren. And honestly, if Hamilton hadn't been nerfed by McLaren, and they did nerf him when he was looking like he could have taken that World Drivers' Championship in his first season, they nerfed him by interfering in his qualifying and etc. Well, yeah, I think Ron Dennis would have to admit he did get in the way there. Kyle says, how many teams are holding back signings to wait to see what Red Bull and Max do? Well, I think the big teams are all doing that. I think Red Bull need to be competitive for Max to stay, and we don't know yet. They look okay. So from what we've seen, I'm looking forward to seeing them in Bahrain because everybody's going to turn the wick up on the engine, right? Let's see who's really competitive. Max said in an interview yesterday that obviously, like they all said, Bahrain was about nuts and bolts shakedown. But Bahrain, they will be pushing for some performance. And that's when we'll really see where these engines are at. And speaking of engines, I need to give you the breaking news that's been coming out today. And we'll come back to some of this Alonso and driver market stuff. But check this out. This is coming out today, and this is putting the FIA firmly on the hook. So the FIA engine boss made a guarantee to Toto Wolff before all of this Mercedes scandal started. And what did they actually say? So it's all about the fuel's compression ratio. Now, the FIA engine chief personally assured Mercedes that their 2026 F1 engine was legal. It's already been reported that Mercedes had corresponded with the FIA about the grey area when building their engine. But now a report from Motorsport Italy reveals a new detail. The FIA's head of powertrain, Vincent Perem, personally approved the Mercedes solution. This is what they're reporting. If that's the case, now the FIA are well and truly stuck between a rock and a hard place, because you've got all the other four power unit manufacturers forming a supermajority saying we want to change the way the compression ratio is measured from ambient temperatures to hot, and we want that done by Melbourne. And now Mercedes have got all these receipts from the FIA. I mean, this is not good, because remember, this is what Nicholas Tombazi said.
The limit, because you could hardly reach that level, to 16-1, which is a bit of a compromise. And of course, as these engineers are very clever and always pushing for an advantage, some have found ways to potentially increase it when the engine is running hot. And that is the discussion we're having now. I mean, we've spent a lot of time with Jan discussing how we solve those issues. And I think our intention is, of course, to solve them for the start of the season. We don't want to have controversies. We want people to be competing on the track and not in the courtroom or in the steward's room. And that's what we're trying to do.
So now, when we look at that interview again, when Nicholas Tombazi is talking about we don't want to be fighting in the courtroom, because you know that Vincent Perem had already given Mercedes the green light on their engine, which means he, as the representative of the FIA, are on the hook. So when you now look at what the CEO of Mercedes said, and he said, well, should they make a change to the way the rules in any way, including how they test for compression ratio, i.e. if you change it to a hot test rather than an ambient temperature test, we will take you to court. And now it's looking like, well, they have got a case, haven't they? Because when it was reported that Mercedes had receipts, they have got receipts. So this puts Nicholas Tombazi in the toughest spot, because if the FIA don't go along with the supermajority to change the way they test for the 16-1 compression ratio, it now looks like collusion between the FIA and Mercedes. Then Mercedes get this advantage, and it looks like collusion between the governing body and the one power unit manufacturer who benefits from that. No wonder the FIA are taking their time with a response, and no wonder Nicholas Tombazi mentions the courtroom in that interview. So yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the fact that we now know that there's a man, Vincent Perem, who's head of powertrains at the FIA, that's basically been talking and agreed Mercedes' solution, it makes it a very interesting case now. So there you go. My CryptoSpace, yeah, FIA gave Merc a pass. And then Sulo says, no freaking way, 100% Merc wrote those rules. Well, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? It looks like Merc, basically, it looks like collusion, doesn't it? Because now it looks like this, and it's a very good point. Because what it looks like to the independent fan, it looks like you've gone, Mercedes have been talking to the FIA, in particular, Vincent Perem, who's head of drivetrains, has gone, yeah, your engine's okay. And it's okay because this is how we're going to test for 16-1 compression ratio. Now, who's to say that Mercedes hadn't been already, because Mercedes have been developing this engine for 4 years. If there was collusion and Vincent Perem knew about Mercedes' trick before they'd wrote the testing procedures, that's collusion, isn't it? Because they basically said, okay, yeah, your engine, which generates an 18-1 compression ratio when hot, well, all we'll do, Toto, is we will just test when it's cold. And because here's the other thing that's really weird about it, is the previous generation of testing procedures in the old handbook for the 25 rules, it didn't specify a temperature of when testing for compression ratio. They added ambient temperature, i.e. cold temperature, into that test this year, into the 26 handbook. So now this is looking real dodgy. Because now you've even specified that you're going to measure when the engine's cold. That wasn't in there for the 25 rules. So now it's looking like, whoa. So now the corruption's looking pretty dodgy. Thane, thank you much for your super chat. Thane's got in saying, fire Toto, corruption, ban him. So yeah, so now it's getting like, look, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it is now looking like potentially collusion. I would want to ask those questions. If I was the other teams, I'd be going, hang on. When did Vincent Perem sign off the Mercedes engine? And when did you introduce that testing procedure? When was that decided? Was that before or after Vincent Perem agreed Toto's engine? That's the question. Sulu says, if the other teams had a trick, they wouldn't stand up against Merc because they would also get caught. Exactly. Nathan says, FII knew of the exploitation of the rules and allowed Mercedes to have an advantage. I mean, it's looking that way. My CryptoSpace says Merc will be so fast. When will they need to turn the engines down to look like they're slow? Well, exactly. If I was Mercedes, I'd definitely be turning my engine down in Bahrain. I don't want to announce to the world, hey, we're 3/10 a lap quicker than everyone else. That's just gonna add fuel to the fire. Dawley says, Toto said, look, FIA, you owe us a championship after the Massey incident. Actually, that's actually quite a good point. I don't think it'd work, but they kind of do. The FIA kind of do own Mercedes one, but you can't run the FIA in that way. But they kind of do. They stole the championship from him, didn't they, with Dan Lewis? They kind of do. But yeah, that is looking pretty wacky, isn't it? I don't know how they come back from it. Because they confirmed, they confirmed that the engine trick is real. And now they confirmed that they knew the engine trick was real because Vincent Perem from the FIA actually signed off the Mercedes engine. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Where's that quote? Yeah. So So if Mercedes have got the receipts, and I think they do, I don't know what comes next. I honestly don't know. And they're running out of time. I think that the FIA need to have some sort of announcement by the end of this week. I think there'll be conversations continuing in Bahrain throughout the testing. It's definitely not dead. I can tell you that now. It's definitely going to go on and on and on. But that is a big update. That is a big update. And speaking of Bahrain, just before let me just go to the chat and see what you guys are saying. So Nathan says the technology has to be shared with all teams or outlawed at this point. But even if they share the technology with other teams, Nathan, the problem they've got is it's a 36-week timeline for them to get to implement it. It's like what Hodgkinson was saying, the head of Red Bull powertrains. He said it's a roughly 12 weeks to get to design something, then 12 weeks to test something, and then 12 weeks to implement something. Extracts in there. Yeah, the championship was stolen from Lewis, not Mercedes. That's true. Good point. Correction. Yeah, good point. Peter Arnold says, all I can hear is Toto shouting, no, Michael, this is not right. Yeah, it wasn't good enough, though. It's funny how Mercedes, why didn't he take him to court over it? They're willing to take the FIA to court over a potential test, an updated test procedure. Gemma says they knew there was a potential for fallout from this, and they locked in the FIA receipts. Well, they had to do it. They definitely had to hold on to those receipts. But yeah, Reevesy says the FIA are screwed. Now, I know Mercedes have got some deep pockets. Oh yeah, live chat. I'm on live chat now, guys. It's flying. The chat's going through super quick. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. I do not know where this leads, but we do have a story on a little update on Cadillac. So Cadillac, I found this interesting because it's Brembo were all over it. So I think it's pronounced Öhlins will supply Cadillac with customer dampers as the fledgling General Motors backed operation embarks on its first season. So who are Öhlins? Well, they are a subsidiary of Brembo. So they're a Swedish suspension specialist. They're going to provide customized front and rear dampers for Cadillac's F1 car. Obviously, Brembo are already all over Formula One, with the group supplying all 11 teams on the grid with brake calipers, with additional solutions such as carbon pads and discs and brake pumps, brake-by-wire systems, AP racing clutches, and Öhlins dampers. All these technologies are all over the grid, and several of those technologies will be on the Cadillac car. So they did a prototype front and rear damper, which they produced in 2024 for testing. And Nick Chester, Chief Technical Director of Cadillac Formula One team, highlighted the importance of their partnership from the outset of the project. We've collaborated with Öhlins from the beginning of our concept work on the first Cadillac Formula One team car. And the performance and quality of Öhlins dampers is excellent, and we're looking forward to racing and developing together. And did you know that Öhlins, they've been their own company for 50 years? And now, obviously, they're a subsidiary of Brembo. And just to let you know, a lot of people were wondering about the braking solutions in Formula One. And Brembo really are all over it for all the teams. But Cadillac announcing their partnership with the subsidiary, Öhlins. So good luck to them. Just a little bit of a quick update on that. And also, speaking of Cadillac, I talked about this earlier in the week. Cadillac have got a new C-level person. So Mark Hines, the former manager of Lewis Hamilton, who was managing Lewis Hamilton last year, has now been appointed officially as the Chief Racing Officer of the Cadillac F1 team. Now, I mentioned it earlier this week. Mark Hines has known and worked with Lewis for a long time. Mark runs Lewis's 44 company, managing Lewis's different endeavors. He was obviously Lewis's manager through a number of years, glory years, 6-7 years. Then they stopped working together for a couple of years, and then he came back to manage Lewis last year. And Mark Hines has got a relationship with Graham Loden, who is the team principal at Cadillac. He worked with Graham Loden when he was the team principal of Marussia Racing all the way back in 2013. Now he's joined Cadillac as the Chief Racing Officer. That means he will be responsible. He's basically the closest liaison to the drivers. And I think that's interesting because we heard Bottas and Perez talk about they are there to race for the team more than themselves. It's all about team performance. They are not competing with each other. Now, I actually believe those two drivers, that it is all about developing the car. So having someone like Mark Hines in there as the Chief Racing Officer, that means he'll be working closely with them to achieve the team's goals, along with secondary to that, which are the driver's goals. It's all about the team. And that's what Mark Hines is going to be doing over at Cadillac. Gosh, excuse me. And finally, oh my gosh, I'm still on the back end of this man flu. And finally, Bahrain this week. Oh, this is what you need to know. So, Bahrain test starts tomorrow. This is what we've got so far. who's going to be out on track, the driver order and which team. So Wednesday, McLaren, Piastri out first, then Norris. Thursday, Norris all day. Friday, Piastri all day. Mercedes will be out on Wednesday, Russell and Antonelli. Then Russell and Antonelli, and then Antonelli, then Russell, and then Russell and Antonelli. So session 1 Russell, session 2 Antonelli, session 1 Antonelli, session 2 Russell, session 1 Russell, session 2 Antonelli. Red Bull all day Wednesday is going to be Verstappen. Thursday all day Hadjar in the Red Bull. Friday Verstappen on the early session, Hadjar in the later session. Ferrari Wednesday, Hamilton out first. Then Leclerc for tomorrow. I don't know. I haven't got the updated data yet for Thursday and Friday. It might have been published already before I made the graphic. Williams, Sainz. Williams, oh my God, we're going to see Williams out on track. Can't wait to see that. Sainz on the early session, then Albon. Then Albon on the early session on Thursday. Then Sainz on the early session on Friday. Then Albon. Racing Bulls, not sure. Haven't seen it yet. It might be published already, but I do not have that. Didn't have those details when I prepared this graphic. Aston Martin. Wednesday is it's Lance Stroll all day. Thursday, Alonso all day. And then Stroll all day Friday. That means on this test 1 in Bahrain, Stroll getting 2 full days. He needs to catch up. He only got 5 laps, didn't he, in Barcelona, whereas Fernando did get 50 laps. Haas, Ocon all day Wednesday, Behrman all day Thursday, and then they're splitting the day, Behrman, then Ocon on Friday. Audi, Bortoletto out first, then Hülkenberg, and then Bortoletto on Thursday, then Bortoletto out first and Hülkenberg on the afternoon. Friday, how are Alpine splitting their days up? You got Colapinto out first tomorrow, then Gasly all day Thursday, Colapinto all day Friday. Cadillac just splitting their days, Bottas then Perez on Wednesday, Perez then Bottas on Thursday, and Bottas and Perez on Friday. So that is how Bahrain is looking. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I'm going to try and cover as much of it with a watch along as possible. We've got data. We'll be able to watch some of the pictures on... I'll be able to watch them whilst you're watching them on your feed from Sky Sports F1 or ESPN or wherever you're watching it. And we'll be able to discuss the action together. But we will be doing watch-alongs. Stay tuned. Make sure you've got the bell all icon tick so you get notified when I go live. But I'm going to try and cover as much of it as I can. And then obviously we'll still do the regular 7:30 evening show to discuss the action, the news that comes out from those days. So that is what's happening this week. Excuse me. So yeah, that keeps you up to date. Excuse me, I'm going to quickly get to the chat. Öhlins. Oh, so Reevesy says Öhlins, great suspension. I think they do make great suspension. I think, look, while we've been on Cadillac, and we've spoken quite a bit of Cadillac this week, I think Cadillac are not going to be last this year. Now, that doesn't sound like a great statement, but I do not think Cadillac are going to be last. I think by the end of the season, Cadillac are going to be far further up the grid than a few people might have imagined. Kyle, AM Wednesday, crash, Thursday, repair, Friday, Alonso. Come on. I've done a lot of Lance Stroll bashing tonight. I'm not gonna join any further. Yeah. Oh, the page number 1's come up with an option. I think you're talking about Mercedes here. So the page number 1 says, and welcome to the chat, the page number 1. So glad you're in there. Test the engines properly. Give them a big weight penalty. I think that could be. They're going to have to nerf the car. If the Mercedes engines are 0.3 a lap quicker, maybe a weight penalty is a way to go while the other engines catch up, or until Mercedes can build an engine which can be compliant with a compression test at hot temperatures. True. Sulo says, or maybe give them a fuel flow penalty. There's going to be a penalty of some description. I mean, because they're not going to be able to develop a new engine, are they? And have it homologated on the 1st of March. So there's got to be something. Kyle says flexi-wing rule was a new rule. This would be changing a rule that was already clearly written. Oh, because I've responded to Nathan. So Nathan, it's very common that developed technology is outlawed because it circumvented the rules. Flexi wings, as an example, was banned in mid-season. And fuel flow, Ferrari 2019. Yeah, but the Merc, my crypto space says the Merc engine is a rocket. It is. I mean, it is looking good. I think the Ferrari engine is looking good as well. But I'm really excited. I don't know about you, but I am really, truly excited about seeing the cars out in Bahrain, especially by Friday. I think by Friday we are going to see the wick turned up. The engines are going to be turned up, and we're really going to start getting an idea of who's quick and who isn't. So yeah, so please do join me for that. I'm sorry I can't give you exact times of when I'm going to be on, because I don't know exactly when they are going to we're going to get the information coming out from Bahrain, or even the pictures. I think it's around 3:00 UK time, but we'll see tomorrow. But I will try and give you as much notice as possible of when we're going to do the watch-alongs. And if you're free, you can have it on. Chef's in the house. I like to see you in there, Chef. Oh, good news. Chef loves a bit of a watch-along. Let's see. It'll be good to have you with us. Drop Tune says it's going to be a real needle season between the manufacturers, whatever happens. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of banter, I think. But I think the big thing is, like we said with the FIA. The FIA are really stood on, like, they're really in a glass house at the moment. I don't know how their actions could result in a court case and scrutiny and accusations of corruption. So the FIA are really in a tricky spot, I think, right now. Dolly says Sky is showing the last hour of the day. That's right, and I think that last hour is like 3:00. So I'm going to try and cover it as much as I can. And you will get a notification when we're going live. So I'm going to try and cover as much as I can. But don't worry, the 7:30 show will be on as planned anyway every day. So yeah, that brings us, I think that brings us up to date on the news today. Thank you so much for joining me. Tune in tomorrow. We're going to try and get a watch along. Thank you so much for joining us. The chat's been popping off. You've been fantastic as always. I've loved it. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for your super chats and your continued support. I will see you tomorrow for a watch along at Bahrain and the normal news show 7:30 tomorrow night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Ta-ta.